So, you've probably seen the title and you're probably wondering, is this true? Am I stopping the daily videos? And the answer to that question is yes. This is my last video that I'm making on a daily day to day, so basically daily output. And this, journey has started from me just saying that I was going to post 30 days for 30 days straight and then kicking it up and doing 100 days each and every single day. And now we've reached day 153, and it's been a wonderful journey, and it's been a journey of just learning so many different things in terms of consistent output, and also building that consistency mode. And I've realized that this has also changed me as well, in terms of making sure that each and every single day I'm just showing up in the best way possible, and showing up in the manner that also makes me just learn each and every single day, and constantly contributing to that OS layer, so that operating system that basically governs how we're thinking in terms of decision making, and also implementation and execution as well. But that means all good things come to an end, and I think this is probably one of the best moves I can possibly make in this moment in time, basically to move on to phase two, where basically I am going to be focusing a lot more on mastery. I know we said that each and every single day that we're posting and doing all these different things, but then I realized that for some time now, that in this pursuit of consistency, the depth and the mastery somewhat takes a dip, even if it's not intended, in terms of how deep you want to actually go in terms of what you're building, and how you're also implementing different things that you're learning on the day to day. And that's what's led me to realize that I want to focus a lot more on building a lot more depth and mastery for phase two. And I think this is something that I've been thinking about for some time now, in terms of how can I go even deeper now that we've somewhat proved that we can go for long and we can be durable, but also understanding that now is the time that I believe we need to focus a lot more on building depth and clarity, and also mastery as well. And that ultimately, from the way that I see it now, is not going to be formed in the best way possible or utilized in the best way possible simply by just posting each and every single day. And I think there's a lot of things that I want to go a lot deeper on, and really build that mastery, and be the best of the best. But even the best of the best don't always have to output each and every single day, and it's all about growth. And I think I've personally reached that level where we've grown to the point that we don't necessarily think that we need to post on the day to day in order to constantly somewhat prove that growth. And this is something that I was thinking about a lot, and I was like, hey, like, am I making the right decision in terms of dialing back on the daily output, and how is that ultimately gonna fuel what it is that we're gonna be doing into the future. And I realized, sometimes, you experience this moment in time where you ultimately have to grow, and realize that even though, it feels like a really difficult decision to stop right now, when you know that you can continue and get to 365 and do each and every single day, but how does that fuel the long term mission? Because the mission has constantly stayed the same, and it's still going to stay the same in terms of building our operating system, basically the way that we document and also make decisions as well, constantly adding towards those different layers, and also networking with cool people doing cool things at the same time. That has ultimately always been the mission, but it doesn't always necessarily have to be in the format of posting each and every single day, because at the end of the day, tied in with the mission, what the main overarching thing was for me to achieve through this was ultimately to build the level of depth and quality, and also mastery as well, that ultimately allows us to be the top of the top in the game, and stay the longest as well. And I think this has been one of the toughest decisions I've had to make. We've built a streak of 153 days of posting each and every single day, but sometimes you need to realize that in order to grow and to ultimately move on to the next level and understand that focusing a lot more on depth and mastery as well is ultimately going to fuel a lot more. At least I believe that that's what it's going to do. And also understanding that by being more precise in terms of uploading videos that are super precise to the specific problems that I want to solve, and I want to solve them more in depth and detail. And that's not gonna be in the best format if it were to be continued if we're just doing daily, because ultimately we've proved that we've built that consistency mode, we've built the discipline 100%. Now it's just about how can we then translate that into focusing a lot more on building that depth and also mastery at the same time, and making sure that each and every single day we're solving the problems that are relevant to what is what people are basically facing. And I believe that this turn, although how difficult it is, I'm gonna definitely look back and be super grateful that we made this decision right now, in terms of just having to focus a lot more on depth and clarity, and also mastery as well, rather than just being consistent for the sake of being consistent. And this is the point where everything ultimately flips, in terms of understanding that each and every single day we still need to take the lessons that we've learned from building each and every single day for the past 153 days. It's more so now just about how can we take this and move it on to the next level, how we show up each and every single day, but at a much deeper level than we did before, and constantly improving as a result of that. How do we constantly show up and say, we want to be the best for a reason? And because we want to be the best, we understand that sometimes you need to make sacrifices. And I know that, we can 100%, continue with the 100, with the rest of the posting each and every single day. But ultimately, does that really form the depth and the mastery to the level that we would ultimately have if we just dialed it back and still continue doing what we're doing, but at a much deeper level? And I think this is a testament to just realizing that sometimes you have to pivot, in terms of the things that you thought were working, or the things that you thought were going to be the things that carry you to the next level, or be the best mode to get you there. And this is somewhat of a a thing that you just have to make, at least I believe, in this moment in time. And it's not easy, somewhat having that mental thing of saying I'm giving up 153 days, but also reminding yourself that even though we're not going to be doing that each and every single day, we're going to go much deeper and be more precise and strategic as well about what we're doing from the lessons that we've learned throughout this 153 days. That makes me more comfortable. It makes me realize that we can ultimately do a lot more, and we can 10x our output from what we've been doing, simply through the lessons that we've been able to gain as a result of this. And I know that into the future, we're ultimately going to come back, and ultimately build, a lot more, and realize that, sometimes, you always have to, focus on the main mission, because the mission stays the same. The mission never changes. It's sometimes that you have to pivot in order to reach the mission, and it's has its own twists and turns, but the main overarching, goal is to get to the mission in the best way possible. And not just get there, but you haven't built the level of depth and clarity that you would have formed if you ultimately just took a step back and ultimately, allowed certain things to marinate, and then also implement on that, execute on that, the different ideas and things like that. I think that, and I believe that that is the best mode and the route that ultimately needs to be taken in order to get to the next level. And also understanding that sometimes you ultimately need to make these tough decisions, even if it sucks sometimes. But that into the future you're going to look back on this, and you're going to realize that this was a pivotal moment that you were super grateful that you made, simply because it allowed you to then 10x what it is that you were doing. from the lessons that you've learned as well. So this is me saying that we're gonna go much deeper than ever before. Phase two is now building, building the mastery in terms of being the best of the best and proving that over and over, and still doing the thing that needs to get done on a day to day and going deeper than ever before. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it means us posting each and every single day, but continuing the journey of documenting everything, and also making sure that we're communicating and also getting better in every single facet that allows us to get to the overarching goal, where we're inspiring millions of people, we're redefining industries, and we're also, building cool things at the same time. And I think that is the mission more than anything else. And how we get there has its twists and turns, but I know that as a result of this, and I believe that this is the right strategic pivot that we need to make in order to multiply what we're going to be doing into the future. And it's not always an easy decision, like I mentioned before, but I feel and I believe that it is the right one to take in this moment in time, such so that we can go a lot deeper and become, the best of the best and live up to the name of Chief Problem Solver as well. I personally just want to do that as well. So yeah, also just, solving harder and harder problems, but realizing that those harder and harder problems require a lot more depth, and we need to formulate that depth in order to get to be able to solve those harder and harder problems. But in order to do that, sometimes you need to make a strategic pivot, and that's okay, as long as you keep going. And this is not the end. It's not, it's by far not the end, in terms of what we're going to be building and documenting as well. It's more so, the new phase that's coming, in terms of what is next, which is building a lot more clarity, uploading, maybe two videos a week, but going in much more depth and detail and solving the problems that specific, feedback from different feedback loops that we've ultimately ran have come from, and building that, and then allowing that to multiply, what it is that we're doing on a day to day. I believe that that is what's gonna, allow us to have this same level of, output, but a higher impact level. So I believe that that is the mode that I personally want to take right now. It was not an easy decision at all, but I feel and I believe that it is the right one to make in this moment in time, and just building a lot more depth and mastery as well. And I know that, I'm going to look back on these videos and this video in particular as the one that was the catalyst for everything that happened, going forward. And I'm super excited for the future, more than anything else. I'm super excited to multiply what we're going to be doing and also what we're going to be building into the future. There's no better future that I see as most exciting other than the one that we possibly get to create. And through that, that's what gets me excited each and every single day. And yeah, if any of you have, watched any of the 153 days, or you're going to go watch them, I just want to say thank you as well for being part of this documentation journey and continuing to be part of it as we go much deeper and focus a lot more on, building inside and building the machine and letting that machine run and be as durable as possible. So yeah, I just want to say thank you if you've watched any of my videos, or if you found any value in any of them. Let me know in the comments. I'm super keen to hear about that. And yeah, phase two is going to be super exciting. I'm super excited to kick off this new journey of just building more in depth and getting and going as much deeper than ever before, but also with the main goal of reaching, what it is that we've initially, had when we started with these daily videos and documenting this entire journey, which is redefining industries, inspiring millions of people, and also, building the thinking mode and, building cool things as well. I think that is a future worth getting excited to, and inspiring millions of people. I guess that's the most important one. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video and any of the previous videos, make sure to connect with me on X, LinkedIn, Instagram, and even check out my newsletter, which is the first link in the description, if you just want to read my weekly digest that I'm going to be doing from now on again. So just going to be going far deeper than ever before, but also keeping up these videos going on a week to week basis, and just posting much more value and dropping, more depth and detail, and focusing a lot more on mastery. And I know we're going to get there. It's going to take time, but lots of lessons to learn, and we're going to fail sometimes, but the main mission is, still going to remain the same. And I'm super excited. So, like I said, if you found any value from any of the videos, leave a comment, let me know what you think, and if you're going to watch them, then amazing. So yeah, I can't wait for phase two, and let's go deeper than ever before, and let's become masters at the craft, and just build. That's exciting. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next video.